Hi, so chapter 9 is analysis of two-way tables. In this we will cover about inference for two-way tables and goodness of fit. So inference for two-way tables, we are going to cover all these points and learn about chi-square. So in chapter 2 we discussed how two-way tables can be used to describe the joint distribution of two categorical variables, and such tables can be used to describe the relationship between two categorical variables. And a relationship exists when the distribution of one variable depends on the value of the other variable. So we already learned about this two-way tables in chapter 2, and it's for the categorical variables. So when the data are obtained from random sampling, two-way tables of counts can be used to formally test the hypothesis that the two categorical variables are independent in the population from which the data were obtained. So this is the hypothesis. So first we will understand by an example, and this is testing for relationship. Explanatory variables that are in row stating smoking habits of students' parents. Like we can see here, both parents smoke, one parent smokes, neither parent smokes. And response variable, that is column variable, is the smoking habit of student. And is student smoking associated with parents smoking? This is the question. So earlier we have seen the conditional distributions are same and showing no association. So P1 is equal to proportion of student who smoke when both parents smoke, P2 proportion of student who smoke when one parent smoke. Similarly, P3 is proportion of students who smoke when neither parent smoke. So we are going to get the value for if P1 is equal to P2 is equal to P3, then there is no relationship between student smoking and whether both one or neither parents smoke. So our hypothesis is no relationship between student smoking and parent smoking. Null hypothesis of chi-square is always states that there is no relationship. And alternative hypothesis is relationship is there. So alternative hypothesis is not one-sided or two-sided but many-sided. But we will understand this in details. So this is an example what we got from our data. We got these values in red. These are the observed counts, and green one are the marginal totals. 400 plus 416 plus 188 is 1004. 1380, 1823, 1168 is 4317. Similarly, all the result is there, and this is the grand total. And the numbers in red are the observed count. Like when we do regression, we always have a dependent value is observed, is also called observed, and when we calculate its value, it's predicted one. Similarly, in this, what we do, it's the observed values that we got from the data, but after this we calculate the value, and that is known as expected counts. And now we will see how we calculate this. So for each value, we got these expected values. How we got that? For the expected count, formula is row total multiplied by column total divided by table total. So to understand it, if we want to get the value of this, we will go to the row total, then we will make a z, and from here to we will come to here, and this is the column total, and then we will go to the table total. Similarly, for this doesn't smoke for both parents smoke, it would be from here to row total, and then doesn't smoke 437 column total, and divided by table total. So we will calculated all the values, but one thing is different is earlier in the observed counts there is no decimal points there, but here we can see because we are calculating these values, so expected counts are in decimal values too. So now the expected counts are counts we expect to see if null hypothesis no relationship is true. So when we calculate the expected counts, we take the assumption that we are taking null hypothesis as true. So there is no relationship, no difference in proportions. So we got the general formula from here. So just remember, observed is what we got and expected what we calculated from here. Now we are from earlier seeing when we are testing for mean, where we got this formula, that is mu is equal to mu naught and x bar minus mu naught divided by s by root n. Similarly, for the proportion, we got this formula and we got this value. Similarly, it's saying the structure is same. This is the scaling factor, and these are the observed sample minus expected, that is the expected result from null hypothesis. And as a scaling factor, we are taking is expected count under null hypothesis. So we take under root of it like this. But now for the chi-square, because of arithmetic reasons, we square all the value. And when we square the value, then the below value, this denominator is now free of under root, so it would be expected only, and the above is observed minus expected whole square, and that's the reason we call this test as chi-square, and this symbol is for representing chi, so we pronounce it as ki, chi, kite, like we say. Now we got our formula, and the numerator is a squared, so it's always positive, and the denominator is an expected count and is always positive. So chi-square, what we are going to get is always positive. But there is one thing, what if the difference of observed and expected is small, then our chi-square will be small, and it would be close to 0. And this represents that null hypothesis is true. So like in every test, we do the fourth step, and we are just planning everything first. So first is the state the problem, then recognize need to perform chi-square test. So what type of data we have, what it's asking, what is the problem stating, then we will specify the null and alternate. Once we recognize we are going to do chi-square test or t-test or proportion test, whatever we are going to do, after that when we make a plan, then we specify null hypothesis, and after specifying null hypothesis, we choose a significance level value, that is alpha. So when we are going to perform chi-square test, the null hypothesis is there is no relationship, whereas alternatives relationship is there. Step 3 is collect data and independent SRS or random allocation. Summarize R into two table, compute expected counts. Check conditions are SRS or random allocation. That's we do for every test. And expected count should be greater than or equal to 5. And these both steps should be followed. If it's not like that, then we are not going to proceed with chi-square test. We are going to get calculate test statistics, obtain p-value, and we will lastly draw the conclusion. So earlier we have seen, now from the formula we are going to calculate for every value, because this is observed. This is expected, that is the calculated one, and here we can see all these values are there. We are going to put each value in our example formula, and we are going to sum it, because we have to do the summation of all the values, and from here we got the chi-square value, that is 37.57. But now for the degree of freedom, earlier in the mean test what we are doing n-1, but here we are not doing that thing, but we are taking row -1 multiplied by column -1. So rows are 1, 2, 3. 3 minus 1, 2. Columns are smokes, doesn't smoke, 2. 2 minus 1, 1. So degree of freedom is 2. 2 multiplied by 1, 2. So now we will calculate for 37.57, degree of freedom 2, and we got the p-value 0. So this is we can conclude that there is a relationship of parents are smoking it, if students are smoking or not. Now, as we know that chi-square values are always positive, so the chi-square density curves are like this. They are mostly skewed. If degree of freedom is less, then the density curves are very skewed. And as the degree of freedom increases, it mostly goes towards the normal distribution. So properties of the distribution is, first, all values are positive. DF characterize curves, that is the degree of freedom, what is the shape of the curve, and shapes are right skewed. Mostly we can see here are right skewed, and skewness diminishes with increasing DF. So generally people use a statistical software, but here's a table E from which we can calculate p-value, and we can see here there are no critical values, and there is degree of freedom here and upper tail probability, because this is chi-square is one tail test. So here we can see for degree of freedom, if this is an example and chi-square is 10.5 and degree of freedom is 2, so we are going to see from degree of freedom 2, and we got somewhat in between 10.5, so it would be it's saying it's greater than 9.21 but less than 10.60. So here it's stating that from here to here it's the p-value. So here is the one more example, and it's saying market researchers suspect that background music may affect the mood and buying behavior of customers. One study in a supermarket compared 3 randomly assigned treatments: no music, French music, and Italian music. Under each condition, the researchers recorded the number of bottles of French, Italian, and other wine purchased. Here's the table that summarizes the data. So here we can see the data were wine, French, Italian, other, and music. One is there was no music. Second is Italian, French music, and third is Italian music. And we are going to sum it. And now problem is calculate the conditional distribution proportion of the type of wine sold for each treatment. Make an appropriate graph. And are the distribution of wine purchases under 3 music similar or different? Give appropriate evidence. So we will see. So now here we are going to calculate, and it's saying when no music was playing, for the proportion we are using, it's 30 divided by 84, 0.357. Italian is 0.131, other is 0.512. Similarly, we calculated for others too, and we draw the graph. It is something like this. And the type of wine that customers buy seems to differ considerably across the 3 music treatments. Sales of Italian wine are very slow when French music is playing, but are higher when Italian music or no music is playing. French wine appears popular in this market, selling well under all music conditions. For all 3 music treatments, a percent of other wine purchases was similar. Now from this, we are going to calculate our expected counts as we done earlier. So for this, it would be 99 multiplied by 84 divided by 243, and similarly we calculate for all values. And if the specific type of music that playing has no effect on wine purchase, the proportion of French wine sold under each music condition should be 0.407. So to find the expected counts, we start by assuming null hypothesis is true. What is the null hypothesis? That there is no difference in the distribution. And we can see from the two-way table that 99 of the 243 tables of wine bought during the study were French wines. And similarly, we can get the proportion. So we got this 99 divided 243 multiplied by 84. So these are all the expected values. So here it's saying the overall proportion of Italian wine. For each one, it's going to calculate. So first is French wine, now it's Italian. First is for the French wine. This is for Italian wine, and this is for overall proportion of other wines. After calculating the value, here we got our values. We can see here it's the observed values. These are the calculated values. Now we will calculate for chi-square. And for this, we see observed minus expected divided by expected. We are going to sum all these values. And we got the result as chi-square is for 18.28. Now the degree of freedom will be 3 minus 1 and 3 minus 1. So it would be 4. So now our null hypothesis is there is no difference in the distribution of wine purchases at this store when no music, French accordion music or Italian string music is played, whereas alternative is saying there is a difference. So our chi-square is 18.28 and our degree of freedom is 4. And now for the p-value, we got 16.42 and 18.47. And now we got that this small p-value that is in between 0.0001 and 0.0025 gives us convincing evidence to reject null hypothesis and conclude that there is a difference in the distribution of wine purchases at this store when no music, French accordion music or Italian string music is played. Now chi-square test for goodness of fit. Mars makes milk chocolate candies. Here is what the company's consumer department says about the color distribution. On average, the new mix of colors will contain 13% each of brown and reds, 14% yellows, 16% greens, 20% oranges, and 24% blues. So the one-way table below summarizes the data from the sample bag of M&Ms. And in general, one-way table displays the distribution of a categorical variable of the individual in a sample. So here we can see it's total to 60. Now it's saying that proportion is 0.15. So for the null hypothesis, we are stating that 24% of all M&Ms are blue. We might believe that something fishy is going on. We could use a z-test for a proportion to test the hypothesis. Null hypothesis is p is equal to 0.24, whereas alternate is it's not equal to 0.24. Where is the true population of blue M&Ms? We could then perform additional significance test. However, performing a one sample z-test for each proportion would be inefficient and led to multiple comparisons. And we have to adjust for the fact that several tests are done at the same time. More important, performing one sample z-test for each color would not tell us how likely it is to get random sample of 60 candies with color distribution. So these are the problem with one sample z-test. So for this now we need chi-square test for goodness of fit. So here are the hypotheses we got. At least a null hypothesis is stating all the values and there is no relationship, and it's stating at least one of the proportion is different than claimed, where p color is a true population proportion of M&Ms of that color. So the idea of chi-square for goodness of fit is this: we compare the observed counts from our sample with the counts that would be expected if null hypothesis is true. The more the observed count differs from the expected counts, the more evidence we have against the null hypothesis. It is stating the same thing what we learned earlier. So in general, the expected counts can be obtained by multiplying the proportion in each category by the sample size. So here we got our expected values. So it is a proportion that is assuming that the color distribution stated by Mars is true, 24% of all are blue. For random samples of 60 candies, the average number of blue should be 0.24 into 60. that is equal to 14.40. This is our expected count for blue. Using the same method, we can find the expected counts for the other colors. Similarly, we have multiplied it with 60 every proportion, and then we got all these expected values. And now we are going to calculate our chi-square, and here we got the summations, and we got chi-square as 10. Now about the degree of freedom. So now it's just what we learned earlier. It's stating it through the symbols and telling you about the formula, and now we are going to see how to calculate p-value and everything. Now it's stating if the p-value is the area to right of chi-square under the density of chi-square distribution on with k minus 1 degree of freedoms, because here we saw that it is just it was not like 2 by 2, so there is only one row, so and they are different, or you can say there are many rows but one column, so we are going to get k minus 1 for the degree of freedom. So now after calculating for chi-square value, and we got 10.18, and degree of freedom 6 minus 1, that is 5, and now we will calculate from the table, and we got that it is chi-square value when we see with degree of freedom 5, it's in between 9.24 and 11.07, and the value of chi-square falls between these values. The corresponding area in the right tail of the chi-square distribution are 0.10 and 0.05. So the p-value for the test based on our sample data is between 0.05 and 0.10. So now because our p-value is in between 0.05 and 0.10, and this is greater than alpha, that is 0.05, therefore we fail to reject null hypothesis. We do not have a sufficient evidence to conclude that a company's claim color distribution is incorrect.